Estamos con Luke Williams, que ha venido a la Red Innova para hablar del desarrollo de nuevas ideas en estrategias de innovación. Él es consultor y conferenciante sobre estrategias de innovación y además es profesor en la Universidad de Nueva York. Y ha escrito un nuevo libro que se llama Disrupt, que lo tenemos aquí, y él va a contarnos un poco sobre estrategias de innovación. Así que, Williams, could you tell us a piece of advice about changing our industry?
Yeah, I just spoke about, and the reason I wrote the book was that if people really want to change the way they do business in their industry, they need to change the way they think about competition. Many people are just trying to be the best of the best at what they do, and I think this just leads to a lot of incremental changes in otherwise identical products. So all the competitors are essentially offering the same thing. My advice, my one piece of advice for anyone who wants to have a go at disrupting a market or an industry is to not try and be the best of the best. It's try and be the only ones that do what you do. And being the only one who does what you do is a much different positioning than being the best of a whole lot of other companies that do the same thing that you do. So to be disruptive, you need to find a way to be the only one that does what you do.
Okay, you have talked about setting up a team that attacked. What does this mean?
Right, so I spoke about, one of the questions from the audience was, what is one thing that I should do when I leave this conference? And my advice for just about any business out there is to set up a team that is charged with the responsibility to attack your own business. So with the same energy and mindset that a young entrepreneur or any entrepreneur would have if they were coming into a new market or category. So set up an internal team whose responsibility it is to work out where your business is weak, where it's vulnerable, and design a solution or create a solution that would take advantage of that, would actually put your own business out of business, because that's the same thing a new upstart or a competitor would do. So that's my advice to companies. And so set up a team, and that's what I mean by attack. Attack your own successes, because otherwise it's going to be too late. If you don't do that internally, change is going to come from an outsider that comes up with a solution that you just were not expecting. And you'll be scrambling to kind of change or catch up. So just get onto it first.
Now we are in a difficult situation. I mean, money and crisis. Do you think people are afraid to have new ideas because they don't can to? No, you know.
This is the major problem with fear. Is one of the major inhibitors for why businesses don't embrace disruptive change. They're scared to take risks with new ideas that challenge their existing way of doing business, their existing business model. So what ends up happening is they get into this habit of just incrementally changing their existing products and services. But the problem is, if you keep doing that, it's okay for a while. But sooner or later, you get on a path that gets narrower and narrower, and by the time you reach the end of that path with your existing products and services, there's no further improvements to make. And at that time, that's normally when a competitor swoops in and completely changes the dynamic of your market and your situation, again with a solution that you weren't expecting. So it's very important for companies to know that not coming up with new ideas is an even riskier strategy than coming up with risky ideas in the first place, in the long run.
And do you think that we should act more like children, just creating and, you know,
Yeah.
and just enjoying what we create?
Yeah, so I talked about in the keynote this morning, I talked about it's never, you know, as adults, many people don't think they're creative. And many businesses suffer because of that. They don't have enough people generating creative ideas and unique insights for their business. But when you look at children, no child thinks they're not creative. I mean, they're busy constantly designing and experimenting and reacting to their world. And as they grow up, they start to learn the adult way of doing something, right? So don't do it like that, do it like this, right? It's the right way to do something. And that's how we all learn. And then we continue on with our education and we learn more of the right way to do something. So by the time we get out into the professional world and we've had expertise in a certain industry or business, we are so locked into our standard ways of seeing and doing, right from the time that we've been told this is the right way to do it, we have a very difficult time seeing something from a new perspective and being able to break out of our own mindset, our own patterns, and come up with an idea that's new to our business. And this is why it's often outsiders to the business, entrepreneurs, outsiders that come in and disrupt current business because they don't have the same patterns of expertise. But getting back to the child question, so, you know, it was Picasso who said that we're all born an artist. You know, the challenge is to remain an artist when you grow up. It's exactly because of this. But I don't think the solution is to, as adults, act like children. I think a lot of people advise that, and I don't think it's very useful. To have business people shooting water pistols and playing with clay or sitting in beanbags is not very productive. So I think we need a much more deliberate way for adults to deliberately break out of their patterns of expertise, and that is actually possible to do without acting like a child.
Okay. Thank you. Have you already your coffee and cake or tea, or are you going to die?
I haven't. No, I need
okay.
to have coffee
Thank
and
you
cake.
very much. Aquí nos quedamos. Muchas gracias a Luke William, que ha sido uno de los primeros ponentes en esta Red Innova. Y nada, muchas gracias, William.
Thank you, and
Thank you.
buy the book. Thank you.
Thank you.